The thing about Thomas you guys have to know, he's such a laid type of guy. Thomas loved the nightlife. Things started to get a bit shifty because Thomas lost his job. What's going on YouTube? It's your boy, Man Like Tats, and I am back again with another video. Guys, as you can tell by the flipping title, today we are doing a story time. Today's another story time, a story time that I've been holding up for a very long time, a story time which I didn't actually want to post, a story time that I think you guys will enjoy. The whole time, me and Thomas were living together at the new place. He didn't have a bed. But like, I come back, my pillow's gone, and I'm asking him, you know, where's my pillow, where's my pillow? And the guy is like denying where my pillow is, the guns. Thomas wasn't even staying with me. Like, his stuff was there in his room. Before we get into the story time though, as always guys, I want to thank you for all the love you showed on the last video. 2,000 views, I think like 140 something likes. I do really appreciate the support. I know I tell you guys this all the time, but I need you guys to really understand and really know that I do appreciate you guys, and everything I do is for you guys. Now, this story time, a lot of people might be familiar with. A lot of people might be like, oh, I know what he's talking about. But a lot of you won't know what I'm talking about. A lot of you won't know that I moved out at the age of 19.
What?
And was staying with someone, right? A lot of you don't actually know that. So that's what this story time's about. To the person that's involved with the story time, that's my boy. Obviously, you know, the story time you may think from the story time like, damn, like, does Tats even like this guy? No, that's my guy. But I thought this is a very funny story time to make. Does he know that I'm gonna make this story time? Let me message him right now, actually. What the hell? Yeah, he knows that I'm gonna make the story time. Okay, for the story time, we're gonna name him, we're gonna name him Thomas. We're gonna name the person I was living with Thomas. Obviously, like I said to you guys before, if you know, you know, but for this story time, his name is Thomas. Now, give you guys a little bit of backstory. Like I said before, I moved at the age of 19. So I knew Thomas prior, like 2 years prior. We went, you know, like we played soccer together. So I actually knew him before I even moved in with him. He was already living in Melbourne and he was staying by himself in the city and, you know, doing his own thing in Melbourne. You know what I'm saying? Like, Thomas is like, he's a very dedicated guy. You know, he's a cool guy. He's a cool guy. So I obviously knew that me and him would get along on a level where, you know, I could be around him. I knew that he was good vibes. See, we had the similar interests. Like, he played soccer, he played games and stuff like that. He liked to go out. So I knew that we had similar interests and things like that. But it's not always the people you have similar interests with that you need to move in with. Oh, hell no! Which is what I learned during this whole experience. But it's not an experience where it was like, oh my god, I wish it never happened. I'm happy it happened. You know, I'm happy it happened. Like Thomas was doing, he was living by himself. It taught me that I will only move out and live by myself. That's what it taught me. But yeah, boom. So like, it was 2023 and I was thinking about moving to Melbourne. Like, I had been thinking about moving to Melbourne for ages at that point. Like 2023, I decided I wanted to go to Melbourne, and then I had finally moved to Melbourne in October or November 2023. A few other times as well like that. I had actually gone to Melbourne a few other times as well, and I had stayed with Thomas. So every time I went to Melbourne, I was staying with Thomas. That's how close we had gotten, you know what I mean? From when I knew him in Adelaide. So we had gotten pretty close. So anytime I'd go to Melbourne, I would stay with Thomas. So when I moved out of home in Adelaide, I went to Thomas's place, right? And I wasn't actually meant to stay in Melbourne. Like, that time that I went to Melbourne, I actually decided to live in Melbourne. I wasn't supposed to stay. I was only supposed to stay for like 2 weeks and then, you know, maybe come back and grab my stuff. But I ended up staying there for like a month and a half, and I still had the clothes that I brang there. And I had no money. I didn't have a job. I was, you know, living off my last paycheck from work, which is like $600. So I had no money, and I was, yeah, basically just living off the paycheck and getting some money from like doing promotional stuff like that for clubs and nightclubs and events and stuff like that. So that's how I was living for like a month and a half, right? Staying with Thomas. And like, thank you to Thomas. Like, Thomas really actually, like, you know, he took care of me. He let me stay. He was staying in a 1-bedroom apartment in the city, which was convenient for me, you know, in the city. You know, and he was working like every day, right? So that was that. Like, we were staying together. Anyways, boom, to fast forward a little bit, he lets me stay with him for that month and a half. I ended up staying with him for about 6 months, like 6 months. And he let me stay there for free, to be fair. Like, when I had money, obviously I would help out with bills, rent. This is all before I had a job. So like, the place we stayed at in the city, I didn't have a job for like 4 months, I would say. So 4 months I didn't have a job, and the last 2 months we were there, I actually had a job. So whenever I could like cook or like pay for food or help him with rent, help him with bills, he would ask me and I would actually pay for him. You know, I would actually help him out. So I am really appreciative of that, because he didn't actually have to let me stay with him for that long, considering that it was a 1-bedroom apartment, considering that he had his own things going on. Obviously you have someone, you know, living with you at this point. Now it's kind of like you can't do certain things because you know there's someone there. So I really do appreciate that, and you know, I'll always be grateful for that type of thing that he did for me, and I'll always be, you know, I'll always be someone that appreciates that sort of thing. So I tell him all the time, like, I do appreciate, you know, him letting me stay at his house, at his 1-bedroom apartment for like 6 months. right? So I ended up getting a job around May time, and I think we ended up moving out of that place around July, end of July, start of August. So when I got a job, obviously now I can give him some rent that he wants. I don't know how, I can't remember how much he wanted for rent per week. I think it was like 100, 150 a week. So I was giving him that every single week. Like obviously food, like I said before, food and stuff like that. Like when it came to cleaning and things like that, like I would help out where I can, because I knew like it was kind of like, it would have been like a burden for him in terms of like, like there's an increase of bills, there's now food and stuff like that. So whenever I could help, I would help. And then the lease was ending for his place. At that point, I'd already been in Melbourne for like 6 months, like I said, 6 months, and I've decided, yeah, I'm actually gonna move to Melbourne, right? So now it's time for us to look for a place. Now, before we looked for a place, me and Thomas stayed in like Airbnbs, we stayed in hotels for like 2 days, 3 days. I remember there was a time we stayed at one place for like 4 days. Then we went to one of Thomas's close friends, my friends as well, but one of Thomas's close friends for like 2 days or one night. I think it was 2 nights or one night where we stayed. It was so far away, and I had to work. It was like an hour and a half to work and stuff like that. But I'm grateful that they let us stay with them as well. So we were doing that in the midst of like looking for a place. You know, Thomas, if you know Thomas, you know Thomas was a nightlife type of person. Thomas loved the nightlife. Thomas in the nightlife? Oh my god. Thomas loved the nightlife, right? So he wanted something that was close to the city. Me, I don't really care, to be honest. I had a car, so it didn't really bother me in that sense. But yeah, he wanted to stay close to the city, which obviously means it's going to be a lot more expensive, which we'll get into. That has a part to play. Close to the city in Melbourne, you're going to have to pay a lot of money, right? That's just how it is. That's just the way it's going to go. But that's what he wanted to do. Me, like I said, didn't really care. I didn't want to stay too close to the city because that would be dragged in money, and we had that conversation. I honestly think we applied to like 20 places. We had applied to like 20 places. And I remember like we were staying at this one spot. I had no money left for that kind of fortnight. I had no money left. You know, I think at the last, the money that I had was like $150, and we were staying at this place, and you know, he had no money left. Well, we kind of didn't want to go ask our parents, but we were staying this one night. I'm at work. Keep in mind, we've applied to like 20 or so places already by this point, and we're just getting rejected by every single place. I think maybe it's because I didn't have any rental history, but it was weird because Thomas had like rental history. Thomas had been living by himself for ages, so it was pretty hard for us to get a spot. I'll be real. Until this one day, right? This one day, or like I said, we're on the last day. I had like $150 left. I booked this place for one more day, right? And I'm at work, check my phone, and I see approved, right? I see approved. And it's a crazy story about how I even got approved for that. I'll be real. Like, it's such a crazy story. So I'm at work, right? I get approved, right? And, you know, we lived at 2 Mascoma Street, Ascoville. If you guys know Ascoville in Melbourne, it's actually not too far from the city. You can take one tram, take 15-minute, 20-minute tram, and you're in the city. For my work, it was like 20 minutes, you know what I mean? And for him, obviously being in the nightlife, he takes one tram as at work. So it was actually kind of convenient for the both of us. It was pricey though. I think it was like $2.3 thousand. And he had the ensuite, and you know, I had the normal room, but it was 2 bathrooms. I'll be real, it was a really nice place. So anyways, I'm at work and I get accepted to the place, and I'm like my heart drops. I send him the screenshot straight away. I'm saying, dude, we got approved, right? We got approved for the place. But the messed up thing is that they wanted the bond the next day, right? So now I'm on calls to my mum. Shout out my mum for giving me half of the bond, and then shout out Thomas's parents for giving him some bond as well. So I'm on calls like, hey, can you do this? Hey, can you do this? Because keep in mind, I didn't really want to get my parents involved, right? Because I moved out by myself. I don't want to have to ask them for a bond now, you know what I'm saying? Because it was my decision to move. But anyways, we get approved, and we hadn't got approved for like 19, 20 places, like I said to you guys before. So this was a miracle from God, and we were like on our last day there at that place before none of us had money. So we got approved, and the guy calls me. The guy's like, hey, are you like Tatenda Tats from TikTok? And I'm like, God is good. Guys, I'm telling you, the guy said to me, are you Tats from TikTok? This white guy. Shout out Luke, that's my guy. But he dead ass, like, I think he did me a solid. I'll be real, he did me a solid. The place was beautiful, like I said to you before. I tried to ask him if we could do something about like the bond being paid that day or the next day, which he couldn't do, obviously. Like, he's just the real estate manager. Not the manager, but real estate guy. So we actually had to pay the bond, and I think the bond was like 4.6, because bond is usually double what the rent per month, right? Yeah. Anyways, so we ended up scraping some money together to pay that bond. I did pay the majority of it, but anyways, that didn't really matter. I didn't really care. And like I said, he had the ensuite, so he was paying a little bit more. I was paying like 1.1, and then he was paying 1.2 because he had the toilet in his room. I still think my room was better though, to be honest with you. My room was bigger, his room was a bit smaller. He had a toilet, but his room was a bit smaller. But overall, it was nice. Like, it was a nice neighborhood. It was a safe, nice neighborhood. There was a Coles, Woolies, gym near us as well. Like I said, the tram to the city was like 15 minutes as well, and it was easy for me to get to work. Whether I wanted to drive or take the tram, I could do that really easily, right? So boom. I know by now you're probably asking, so Tats, why the title? Tats, why is the title what it is? When does it all go wrong? Tats, like, you know, like, why are we even watching this video? Guys, we're about to get to that part. So boom, it's like 1 month into living in Ascoville. Our new place, we're excited, we're joyful. We had no furniture in the whole house. Like, there was no furniture. I swear to God, like, the whole time that I was there at that place, I never had a couch in the living room. I never had a TV in the living room. It was literally just open space. It was just open space. If I can find pictures, I'll put pictures on the screen. But it was just dead ass open space for the whole time we were there. People that came to visit, my friends, that if you know that it was just open space. My room, to be fair, was decked out. My room, I had a bed, I had a desk, I have a chair. All the things that I got from like Facebook Market. I was able to deck my room out pretty quickly. Thomas though, I'm not gonna lie, Thomas though, like Thomas kills me. The thing about Thomas, right? The thing about Thomas, you guys have to know, he's such a laid type of guy. So laid back, it gets to the point where you're like, you know, like, nigga, come on, you know what I mean? Let's be a bit serious. Guys, I think for the whole time, me and Thomas were living together at the new place, he didn't have a bed.
Bro, what did you just say?
Like the whole time he didn't have a bed, the whole time, right? Like, yeah, it was crazy to me, right? And we don't talk about it, we don't mention it, but to me it was crazy. Like I said, 1 month, we're at the place, everything's joyful, we're having fun. Obviously, it's the honeymoon phase, right? Well, we just moved into our new apartment. Now, I call it the honeymoon phase because things started to go left. I don't know what happened, right? Thomas worked in retail, pretty high up in the retail hierarchy, obviously. So he was getting quite a bit of money. Also, he was in the nightlife, like I said to you guys before. So Thomas was making quite a bit of bread for himself during the time that we had the old place. And then, like I said, 1 month into the new place, things started to get a bit shifty because Thomas lost his job. Now, it's at this point where now things are becoming stress, right? Because now I don't know what happened, but I think there was a sense of, not like hopelessness, not that, but just the motivation to bounce back from that, right? You know, it was 1 month into us living into a place, obviously, like, and I say this all the time to people, I say this all the time, I say this all the time, anyone that asks me, I say, like, if I was able to afford the rent on my own and do what he did for me, right, you know, and pay the rent and stuff like that, I would have 100% done that. You know what I mean? At the time I was working aged care, getting like $34 an hour and things like that, working full time. The money to cover both of us, I just didn't have it, you know. And I think the difference is that we moved into the place together knowing that we would split the rent, right? He had already been at the place he was at before, you know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like a real big difference for him in terms of financially, but for me now, having to try do my best to pay $2,300 a month on my own was hard. You know what I mean? I was hard. But yeah, he lost his job and I kind of really couldn't contact him. You know what I mean? He lost his job and be around the house and things like that, but it was hard. It was hard. So Thomas loses his job and things, you know, obviously, like, it's calm, like, he's still got some money in his savings, so it's not the worst possible thing that can happen during that time, like at that time. But leading up to the further months, it got kind of draining for me, you know, in terms of like, hey, like, by the way, rent's due, you know what I'm saying? Because I remember there was this time where, like, the second month we were there, obviously August, I feel bad because he did all this for me. He allowed me to stay at his place and stuff like that. So I did all I could. I tried to do all I could in order to try make rent work and things like that, because it got to a point that he was always late for rent, like literally, like, always late for rent. And if you guys understand how rent works, the rent was being taken from my account, right? So the rent would rebound, you know what I'm saying? Like, it would be like 2.3 and there's only my end, or if I've been able to add some, it would rebound, you know, they would take the money, then it would send it back. All these things affect your credit score, right? So I was like really stressed and stuff like that because I'm the one that's getting the emails, you know, I'm hearing our landlord be like, hey, this happens again, I'm gonna have to kick you out type of thing, which I kind of realize now that they probably wouldn't have kicked us out, I guess, you know, because the money was coming either way, but it was probably just annoying that it was coming late. But that was my whole thing, like, hey, like, try pay rent, you know, I know you're not working, but if you have savings, even if you ask your parents, you know, Thomas, like, ask your parents to give you money, like, ask someone to borrow money, because it can't be my bank account that's the one that's taking the fall for this, you know what I'm saying? Because things came from my account. I did try and switch over accounts the money was coming out of. I tried to get the guy to change it into Prince's name, so at least I've sent Prince the money, and if it rebounds, then it's on Prince's credit card or Prince's bank card and not mine, because, you know, like back the whole credit thing and stuff like that, my credit score and things like that, you know. It just got a lot, you know what I mean? It got a lot to the point where, like, you know, the first month was great. The second month, you know, it was within that month that he had lost the job. So, you know, he still had a few more savings. And then it came to the third month. And around this time, I was almost going on a holiday. So it was just a lot of excuses. Like, excuses that are like, you know, it's so dragged. And I think even he knows that some of the excuses that he was using on me were like dragged. Like, there was this one time he was saying, I mean, I don't have money in my car. I don't have cash, you know? And I was on holiday at this point. And then I'm like, oh yeah, just take my car. Just take my car and, you know, go and put your cash in. And apparently he went to 4 ATMs, and none of those ATMs were taking cash. Apparently none of those ATMs were allowing him to deposit. Apparently it was just spitting the money back, which, like, okay, that was one of the excuses. The guy crashed my car. I know he crashed my car. Like, I was keeping my, I'm on holiday, right? This is one of the things, like, Thomas is a character, but I think it was just one of those things. Like, I don't even want to make excuses for it, but I just don't know. I just don't know. Anyways, I was on holiday and he crashed my car. There was a dent on my car. But I come back and I'm thinking, like, where the hell did this come from? I ask him and then he says that, you know, he says he doesn't know how it came there. But, like, it was like, for me, it's like, if I had done it, obviously there's no reason of me blaming you, because at the end of the day, I know that I did it and I still have to pay for it. You know what I mean? I know you're not gonna pay for it, right? If I did it, if you you didn't do it. But it was more so like, I knew that he had done it. There was like this other time as well, you know what I mean? Like, this is even past the whole rental thing, you know what I'm saying? Like, the whole rental thing was an add-on, right? And we'll get to more about that, like how I was able to find a new roommate and how all of that led up and things like that. But there was another time, I think I'd gone somewhere for the weekend. Anyways, I come back and one of my pillows is missing. There's, you know, there's stuff on my desk. There's a PlayStation on my desk. There's this, that on my desk, you know. Keep in mind, if someone, like, if you ask me, hey, can I borrow this? Can I use that? Can I use the desk, you know, to play my games and stuff like that? I have no problem with that at all. I have no problem with that. But, like, I come back, my pillow's gone. And I'm asking him, you know, where's my pillow? Where's my pillow? And the guy is, like, denying where my pillow is. The guy said, oh, you might have just left it somewhere. You might have accidentally thrown it in the bin. And then, while it was at work, I decided to go to his room, right? I decided to go to his room. And I look inside his laundry box. And my pillow's at the bottom of it. My pillow's at the bottom of it, right? And then I take a video and I send it to him. And he says that he never got the video. And then when he came home, I was waiting. Because I was like, no. It's gotten too much now. I was waiting. I literally was going to show him the video and he was acting like he couldn't see it.
What? Oh no, see, that's what we not about to do. Police, lock his ass up.
And said he had to go somewhere. Guys, I'm telling you, Thomas was a character, bro. I'm telling you, Thomas was a character. Anyways, so this whole, like, being late on rent thing carried on for so long. Like, even my parents had to send me money for rent, you know, and things like that. Like, all that stuff's happened. Now I'm getting, like, now I'm stressed. Like, I'm really stressed and stuff at this point because every time rent is coming on, I'm just stressed, you know what I mean? Yeah, it just wasn't good for me, you know what I mean? I was really stressed, felt unwell all the time because obviously I'm worrying about how rent's gonna do this month. Like, is rent am I gonna get rent, things like that. And for about like 4 or 5 months, Thomas wasn't even staying with me. Like, his stuff was there in his room, but he wasn't staying with, if that makes sense. Like, his stuff was there in the room, but he wasn't staying with me. He was staying with one of his other mates, like his other clubbing mates. So my whole thing was like, hey, look, if you're not gonna, like, stay here, let me grab someone. Let me get someone to come in who can actually pay me rent. You know what I mean? Who can actually allow me to be released from all the stress and things like that. Because he was never home. Like, he was always there. He slept there. The only time he would come home was to get new clothes or get something or just to pass through or whatever it was. He never slept for like 5 months, guys. 5 months. So for those 5 months, I'm literally trying to tell him, hey, look, like, dude, you can't afford it. That's just what it is. You know, please let me get someone in. Like, because you're not paying me rent on time. And it was always a thing of, hell, I'll pay you this week. I'll pay you. I don't have cash. I'm waiting for cash there. These people aren't paying me, this and that. I just got fed up. You know, I guess to a certain point you get fed up, and to a certain point, that whole thing of, oh, he let me stay at his place for 6 months kind of goes out the window, because now I'm thinking to myself, like, that was cool and all, but we got this place together. Like, that was calm, and I really do appreciate that, but we got this place together, right? If I had gotten this place myself, and, you know, I was already here, and you came, and you weren't paying me, it doesn't really change what I was doing, because I was already paying that money. But we got it because we could both afford it. We could only afford it together. Do you know what I mean? So now I'm like at a stage where, like, I'm actually emailing my landlord saying, hey, bro, like, Luke, I need you to help me me get him out. Whether it's like saying that we're being evicted, whether it's saying that I'm leaving, because if I leave, then it leaves all the responsibility on him. The only issue with that is that we both have to sign, right? So my issue was like, he's not going to sign it, which was what I was telling Luke. Like, he's not going to sign it. Obviously, he wants his clothes here because where he's staying, there's other people staying there as well. So it's more convenient for his clothes to be here. And where he was staying, we didn't even live that far, like 10 minutes, 15-minute drive, right? So it was pretty convenient for him to just come and go as he pleased. But I wasn't having it. I was sick and tired of it. I was stressed. I was going through a lot, guys. Like, I was going through a lot. And, you know, I'm making this video. He knows that I'm making this video, you know. The thing is, I'll always have love for him because that's my guy, you know what I'm saying? Like, he looked after me. And besides that point of living together, you know, like, he was one of my closest friends, you know what I mean? So, but I'm telling the story so you guys can relate to it, so you guys can understand what it means, you know, living with your friends isn't always the best idea, because me and Prince, bro, if we're not living together, like, we're calm. It was just that now I'm seeing him every day. Now, is that because he lost his job and, you know, he wasn't paying me rent and things were heated? Maybe if he had a job, it would be calm, you know what I'm saying, guys? So, boom, right? So it's getting to the point where I'm trying to sort out a plan with the landlord and trying to get to a point where maybe we can sort out a plan that allows me to get him out. After like 5-6 months, 5.5 months, he decides to actually finally agree. This is after people's parents are now involved, you know what I mean? Like, after people's parents are involved, after like, it basically took force, you know what I mean? It took force and it took like guilt tripping, because at that point, like, I was just sick and tired of it, you know what I mean? Like, the people he was living with, I told them like, hey, look, like, just allow that guy to stay with you, bro, because with me, like, he's not paying rent. Like, think about me, you know what I mean? Just think about me. And what really pissed me off is that they try to use that, oh, remember when he took care of you? But for me, it was like, he was already there. You know, his rent didn't change because I was there. Do you get what I'm saying? So that was my stance on it. And there was a whole lot of other people that kind of got involved, because obviously, like, dude, I'm stressed out, you know what I'm saying? Like, I need someone to talk to. Someone to just validate how I'm feeling, because it's got to a point where I was actually thinking, oh, maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe I'm just doing too much, you know what I mean? But my parents literally almost came and dragged me out of that place, you know what I'm saying? They said, we're coming back to Adelaide, which is, that's one of the reasons why I even moved back to Adelaide, was the whole situation. I felt like it really messed me up mentally, type of thing. So anyways, boom, Prince leaves, you know, after 5.5 months, and we didn't really talk, you know what I mean? The only times where, if I'm being honest, we would talk is like, if we went on a night out, and then, like, you know, we were like both lit and stuff like that, we'd have a conversation, like, hey, I'm so sorry, but then the next week, it goes back to the same thing. Like, the next day, it's the same thing all over and over again, you know what I'm saying? So it was like that. There was a few other things that would happen as well, like, Thomas knows, you know what I'm saying? Like, Thomas knows the living situation and things like that. But like I said, guys, we didn't have a couch, there's no TV and things like that. Thomas, I'm gonna say it now, Thomas didn't have a bed for the whole time he was at that place. Thomas didn't have a bed for the whole time he was at that place. Not even a bed, you know what I mean? But like, like, look, guys, it's an experience. Like, honestly, like, it's one of the biggest life lessons that I'll ever have in my life. And then after Prince, obviously, because I had lived maybe like 7-8 months, and obviously it's a 12 months lease, so I had to get someone else in. Oh my god, like, I was better off staying. The only good thing about the new person was that he could actually pay rent. You know what I mean? But I think other than that, like, I think it was just the same. Like, in terms of like just nonsense. Like, it's about the same. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like there's some people that you can't really live with. You know, it didn't take me time to find that person, but I just feel like sometimes there's people that you're better off just being friends and not roommates, you know, seeing them from time to time type of thing, because I haven't had a good experience with roommates. It's horrible. Horrible. And you guys know me, like, I'm not a crash out or anything. I'm not a crash out, but with Thomas and with that other bloke, oh my god, they almost caught hands. I'll be real, they almost caught hands. The only reason why they didn't catch hands is because it's just not my character, you know what I'm saying? Thomas, I wanted to fight you so bad. I wanted to fight you because, like, it got to the point where he was just avoiding me, you know, just like literally just avoiding me. Like, he would wait until I was in the shower to leave, or wait until I was in my room to leave. He wouldn't come out his room if he knew that I was there. If he came out of his room, he wouldn't look at me in the eyes. Like, obviously you can't look someone in the eyes, and that's been going on for ages, you know what I mean? You can't. Like, it's one of those things. It was like, you just can't look at me. So yeah, I don't know. And, you know, I give him the benefit of doubt, because obviously losing your job, like, you know, you're dealing with some other things. Like, gave the benefit of the doubt. Said, you know what? Put it all behind me. Moved back to Adelaide, stress-free, didn't have to worry about rent and nothing. And just, you know, just did my own thing from that point on, because, you know, it's a life lesson. But yeah, Thomas, he stressed me out, man. I'm not gonna lie. Thomas, you stressed me out. I always appreciate what you did for me. Will always appreciate what you did for me, though. You know, you're my guy. You know what you owe me. You have my money. You have my money, nigga. Give me my money back. Guys, okay, when I see Thomas again, when I go back to Melbourne, I want my money. I want my money. And I'm not playing around this time. Like, I actually want my money. Mom's life. Because, like, yeah, guys, yeah, I actually need my money. You know, and I need all that stress that happened. Because, guys, being late 6 months in a row, like, it's not a nice feeling. When he sent me the money, oh my God, I was in hooray. Because that's the only thing I was stressed about. I don't care where you are. Give me my money that I need to pay rent. Rent's being taken out of my account. Just give me the money, pay rent. Flipping out. You know what I'm saying? Like, but yeah, some people, this is a life lesson to you guys. Anyone that's thinking about moving in with their friends. If you haven't even lived with that person before, like, do not live with your friends. Do not live with your friends if you want to continue to be friends with them. That's what I'm gonna leave you guys with. If you want to continue to have friends, do not live with your friends. Because it's a whole different ball game when you're seeing someone from time to time than seeing them every day, right? They might do some things. Like, Thomas would leave his plates in the sink, you know what I mean? Like, dried up plates and things like that in the sink. For who to wash? For me to wash, you know what I mean? Because, you know, and then also it would be things like taking the bin out, or leaving things on the stove, or, like, general, like, cleanliness, you know what I mean? I wouldn't say I'm the most clean person. Like, I would say that it's, like, reasonable. Like, I'm the type of person, like, if you leave, like, a small thing on the table, like one of these small things, you know what I mean? I'm gonna put it in the bin. Like, it's never that deep. You know what I'm saying? It's never that deep. Like, I feel like I have a crazy, I just feel like I have a crazy story with every single, like, with those two roommates. Like, I could make a whole story time about the other guy, and I only lived with him for 3 months. I only lived with him for 3 months, and I could make a whole flipping story time. You know what I'm saying? I think there's a whole lot of things. Like, obviously, I respect Thomas. Like, I have some sort of respect for Thomas, so I'm not gonna get into the nitty gritty of things. But yeah, that's what went down. A lot of people were wondering, and I was always like, yeah, I want to make a story time. I want to make a story time, but I wasn't really sure how I was gonna play the story time, because it can get a little bit iffy. But yeah, guys, like that, yeah, there was just a lot of things. Like, I don't even think I could put it into like a smooth, like, it's not even one of those story times where it's like a smooth and there's like an end. You know what I mean? The end was really when he had left. That was the end. But it's not really the end, because he still owes me money. You know what I mean? But it's crazy, like, because when I moved back to Adelaide, his parents gave me a job. So, like, it's a bit like, I don't know. I just think things work out the way they work out. Would I ever live with him again? No way, no chance. But yeah, guys. If you guys enjoyed the story time, make sure you like, subscribe, comment. Make sure you share this video with your friends and family. Let me know what you guys thought about the story time. Let me know, guys. Let me know what you guys would have done in my situation. I think I did the best in my ability. I used all my resources. I almost took out a loan, but I said that is, if I have to take out a loan for rent, like, that is dragged. So I didn't end up taking a loan. I used my parents. Not use my parents. But I paid my, like, you know, I would borrow money from my parents, my friends, you know, having to pay them all back and things like that. Like, oh, yeah, it was just hell on earth. And I said to myself, whenever I move out again, I want to make sure I can live by myself. If you guys enjoyed this video, one more intro, one last outro. If you guys enjoyed this video, like I said before, make sure you like, subscribe, make sure you comment what you think, what you thought about the story time, what you would do. If you guys have ever had any similar things in your lifetime, it's been your boy, Man Like Tans, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.